Hello, everyone. Welcome to another iStaging talk. I'm your host, Stefan, and I am very excited today to be joined by award-winning interactive media specialist and founder and director of VirtualPro, Dean Scholey. Dean, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, I'm very, very glad you're here. We're going to be talking about a whole lot of things, in the virtual tour space. You've been in the space for a long time and you have a lot of experience. So, excited to talk to you about that. But before we get into it, a few household items. So, for anyone, if you're here, please make sure that you can hear and see us, and let us know in the chat on the right-hand side of your screen. And feel free to post any questions there as well throughout the conversation. We can cover those, towards the end. So ask Dean anything. He's here right now, so I would say take advantage of that. So, Dean, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your background and what sort of inspired you to, start your virtual tour venture quite a few years ago now.
Sure. In a nutshell, my background is a graphic designer and branding specialist. I spent 30 years doing that. I'm probably slightly older than most of the guys here. I then had children with my wife, and I decided that I'd stay home and try the stay-at-home dad role for a while, which was probably the most challenging job I've ever done. Well worth it though, but
I can relate to that.
And many others too. And in the process of trying to figure out where I belong in the world again, the virtual tours are starting up again. Well, I noticed virtual tours, particular Matterport and others around them, and I just said, well, this looks amazing, because the one thing as a graphic designer, I always strive to try and do was give my client the option of choice. Which way do you want to go? Which item do you want to see? And the virtual tour just hit me like a ton of bricks and said, this is what I want to do. That was in 2017.
Yeah.
So VirtualPro was formed while I was still stay-at-home dad, and then eventually I asked my wife to please come home for a bit because it was starting to catapult, as in grow more. The more I marketed, the better I did. And then I took the plunge and said, well, you can come home for a bit. And then since then, we've just been going. The kids are older now, so Janine's working and I'm working, and it's been fun. It's fun every day. Yeah. So, we've just been going, and it's evolved from sector to sector, because I think in the beginning we had the luxury of trying to explore all the various sectors, trying to figure out where this belonged. And then COVID came, and then obviously we belonged in real estate. So we hung out there for a while, for 2 years. Obviously New Zealand went into heavy lockdown, so we didn't really experience COVID like anyone else. We were out there when the cities were empty, shooting virtual tours for real estate agents and commercial and stuff like that. Since then, it's all changed, and I've gone back out into, I've come out of real estate, and I'm more into more of a specialized enhancement features and understanding how to rather sell the virtual tours, not sell the service and the value of a virtual tour versus what it actually does.
Interesting. So that actually brings me to a question. I did a little bit of research on you, and I heard you say on a podcast that nobody wants a virtual tour. They want the solutions a virtual tour brings. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
So it's always an approach that I've had. Let me just think about this so it makes sense to the audience. when you're trying, we always tend, when you're doing virtual tours, you're stuck in the shiny objects, the wow, look, we can walk through a space, you can see anywhere in the world. But when you drill it down to what the next suite up as, say, the business developers or the business owners, the sales managers, what do they actually, where's the value for them? You know, most of us starting out are starting out like photographers. Hey, look at this picture, or graphic designer, look at this logo, or look at this page design. Sure, but what's my return of investment on this? What is it doing? So I've always learned to rather pitch the idea of the solutions it solves. And we all know what solutions it does. It's, you know, the ability for us to understand how the clients function in these spaces, the data that's driven from it, the lead gen. Those are the key words that these guys love to hear.
Yeah,
you know, they don't like to hear. Oh, you can walk around and see the furniture, and you can walk around and because you're not having the conversations that they want. If I'm going to invest in this, what is the return going to be?
Interesting. I think that goes for probably many industries. I think you sort of hit the nail on the head with that. You know, oftentimes we're having the conversations that we want to have instead of the conversation that the person opposite of you actually is looking to have, and that's where there's some sort of a disconnect often. So how has your sort of your vision changed, you know, in terms of virtual tour from, you know, what is it, 7-8 years ago to now? Like how has that evolved?
I've just matured more into what the where I think the industry is going. I think the virtual tour is a great piece, but it's a piece to a bigger puzzle of communication. So if you take all your, so for me, I'm always having the belief that this virtual tour is another marketing channel, another form of media. It's more of a holistic collection of all your media pieces as a brand or a company. When you look at, say, a website, which tends to be linear, top to bottom, click on the button, off to YouTube, off to PDF, off to this. And in that space, they can get distracted out of the I guess, the narration of that space. Yeah. Whereas a good virtual tour, it is holistically a centerpiece that pulls all those assets together for the client. The story, and you can control those things.
Yeah.
The layering of these virtual tours does tend to get a bit much, because I'm noticing there's a lot of, you know, let's throw everything in it. The hot spots, the this, the that, you know, sometimes you just don't need to go that far. But there are some awesome skins out there. MP Skin is a great one. You know, they all you know, capture, Treatise. There's so many of them out there, and the likes of you guys too. I mean, iStaging do awesome. Yeah. And you've evolved. Still trying to figure out where we belong, but you know what? It's just a journey.
Yeah. So before we go into sort of, you know, the virtual tour, a little bit more details on virtual tours itself, we got a lot of people in our sort of audience and a lot of our customers that are either doing something similar to what you're doing as a provider of these types of services and tours, or they're trying to get into it, right? And one of the things that I always find interesting is that, so what kind of advice would you give to them? How do you get started? You know, how do I get my first customer? What do you do? Of course, now you've got a lot more elaborate sort of marketing and that type of stuff. But when you're just, you know, how do I get a customer in this space? Am I just door knocking? What am I doing exactly to basically get that first, you know, customer or the first 10 customers going? Is there any sort of specific things that you did, or is it just, you know, I'm reaching out, I'm contacting 100 people a day, do that for 3 months, and then eventually I'm going to get 10 people that want to try? Is it that simple, or are there other things that you did?
Look, It depends on the industry you want to target.
Okay.
Each of them need a different conversation. So it depends on, look, a lot of the guys start out as real estate photographers, and they add on the virtual tour.
Yeah.
I started out going, I'm not interested in real estate. We're going to break this and go for it. By removing real estate out of the equation, which is your lowest denominator in the real, as far as I'm concerned, in that space, you then are able to focus on higher value virtual tours. A great value virtual tour industry, if you want to be in real estate, would be commercial real estate. They are businessmen, not real estate agents. They are degreed. They have bigger budgets, and they understand the value of what it is that the virtual tour will do for them.
Right.
So it's circling back to your question. I would say it just depends on how tenacious you are.
Yeah.
If you love it, if you believe in it, nothing will stop you. It doesn't matter, you know. My mantra when I started was I was so excited with what this was doing that all I wanted to do was just have the opportunity to tell you. That's all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Look at this awesome thing.
Yeah.
And you know, I didn't care. You don't try go for the sale. People want to see the passion you have, which will show in your work. But that again, sorry. That being said, it is a lot easier to get the work now. You know, we're talking 3 years back. It was difficult. Now, virtual tours, walkthroughs are very much more common thing.
Yeah.
It just depends on where you want to position yourself. The higher you go up the level, the more there's more money there. Right. It also doesn't have to be about size. It doesn't have to, a virtual tour doesn't mean the bigger the shoot, the more the money.
Yeah.
The better the client who sees a higher value, the way you've articulated it, is the money.
Yeah. Interesting when you talk about the, you know, how much you cared about it, and the passion. That reminded me of another sort of New Zealand icon, Jason Gunn, who talks about, you know, he's a speaker, sort of talks about to help people.
Radio host, TV host.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And now he does a lot of, you know, helps people basically with public speaking. And he always says people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That's the, you know, it comes back to sort of the passions. It's infectious in a way, right? Like if they see your passion and your excitement, often they're much more willing to then listen to it and go a little bit more into detail about what kind of value it then brings. But I guess that's where it starts.
Like it's simple strategies that show that you love doing what you do and will do anything just to do it.
Yes.
A good example is when I chase a new industry like boats or caravans, RVs. It's so much easier to go up to that client or the potential target that you actually want to work with and just say, look, I'd love to just shoot this to see what would happen. I need to do it as a test. It's an hour's worth of your time. You're starting a conversation. They really want to see what you've got. Yes. So you've opened the door. With commercial real estate, I've got a client with a massive portfolio that's just coming on board from Bailey's. It's in leasing, which is a tricky one because no one wants to spend money in leasing because it's no one owns the right to market it.
Right.
So what I've suggested to do is, look, I'm going to take the risk with you as the agent. I'm going to shoot the virtual tour. It's a 1,300 square meter place. It'll take an hour and a half.
Yeah. And
present it to the client. Now, there's a difference between trying to sell a client a virtual tour that isn't their space. It's, that looks awesome, but what does mine look like?
Yeah.
If you take the risk and you provide them with that virtual tour, once they're in there and you say to them, look, use it for a week, they'll pay double the price.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, now, especially if it's used for a marketing sales purpose, they all of a sudden have been through their offices, they've felt things, it's just, if you're passionate about what you are, and and confident that, say, 70% of your times you're going to get a conversion rate, it's worth that. They're not that expensive. It's just time, and hey, when you love what you're doing, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and it's then, you know, offering or giving them something without really expecting anything in return. It's like I'm not asking anything from you. I just want to show you this thing, and you know, like that's it. And then if you love it, if you see the potential there, then you know, let's have a conversation, or we can continue the conversation. But that's it, right?
The difference, though, if you come in the other way and you say, "Hey, I shoot virtual tours. Oh, we have someone who does it," so their conversation is ended.
Yeah.
All you're trying to do is have a conversation with the agent or the next person, even in real estate. Hey, don't worry, I'm going to shoot the virtual tour. Share it with your client. If they like it, pay for it. I've taken the risk. But you've created that relationship with that agent that's showing, hey, this guy will go beyond, because it's his thing, and he believes that it'll just, I mean, you can pull the plug anytime you want on that marketing strategy.
Yeah, yeah. So you've done work in a variety of different industries over the years, obviously. Now, would you say that it's better to pick a specific industry and go hard, you know, be quite niche, let's say, or be more open to a broad range of industries? You can obviously say, well, you know, I'm doing, for example, more retail, but in retail, that's still enormous. Would you then more specifically say, okay, you know, for example, you mentioned boats. I'm just gonna go and do boats because I can be so, you know, I can drill down on what it is that they specifically need and where the value is. Or then I'm gonna go to, I don't know, cars, or how do you see that?
Yeah, you have to. Like, I didn't niche for a very long time because I was trying to figure out where it belonged, because it didn't have a home.
Yeah.
And then once you go the ups and downs, it's you know, it's feast or famine. You eat what you hunt.
Yeah.
You begin to find where your passions are, and how you want to work.
Yeah.
I mean, do you enjoy walking 30,000 square feet? Do you enjoy that? If you do, then make that your niche.
Yeah.
But I think there's a switch. Like for me, I'm niching down in the boats because for some reason there's a lot of boats here, and no one has looked at that market. So I'm you know, to a point where you're creating this complete valuable asset to the clients.
Right.
You know, I'm also niching down to smaller, more items that are quite unique versus what everyone else does, the big spaces. I still do the big spaces. And to come back to your question, find your niche that you love doing, that you know, yep, I love this. Whether it is a 10-story building, if you like doing 10, go for it, but have that as your main game, and then have a long game where you're shooting a ball out a bit further just to explore. You know, because the markets change all the time, so you've got to have. And the nice thing about our industry is that we can cover all the markets.
Yeah.
So you know, let's say look at COVID. If you were heavy into real estate at one point, I mean, the agents that you work with don't always do well. You may have another industry in rentals or you know, leasing. Always play that, but pick your niche that lets you become the most expensive best shooter in the market.
Yeah,
then you can drop everything else.
Yeah, very interesting. Actually, one of the interesting things that you said is that for some reason there's a lot of boats here. Like, that's also something to think about, right? It's like in the area where you are, what's a lot of stuff here, right? That's different from, I don't know, in, you know, where I am in Taiwan or in France or in the Netherlands. There's other things, right, that there you might have a lot of. And then the question is, is there something there that is not there just yet, right? In real estate, for example, there's lots of competition, so you're competing on price. But
and that does come down to all you guys always just saying it's about real estate.
Yeah.
It's Matterport does it. Everyone says, look through the house, and so we're conditioned to think that's where we belong.
Yeah.
Look at what you can do. Look at your skills. Look at an item. How can you make a unique virtual tour stand out compared to everyone else in the market? That gives you that piece where you do walk up to them and say, look, I've got, I can do this. And they say, no, we've got people, and you can show them something.
Yeah.
And they go, well, and they'll go, maybe I'll just check if he can do that. Make it an art form, not just a push the button. Find a way to stand out and explore the ins and outs of the software you're using.
Yeah, I don't obviously want to give too much away, but I think what you're because you're so creative, what you're doing really, really well is when it comes to, well, if you're capturing a space and you're in real estate and it's about the space, okay, great. But in the case of boats or in the case of any sort of product, right? The reason why I'm creating this digital twin or this virtual tour is not to highlight the space. It's not like what am I trying to do? I'm trying to actually highlight this particular product or item or whatever it may be. And then the question is, how can I be creative in doing that? And when I say that, it doesn't mean, okay, I'm going to put a tag or some sort of...
Sorry, I think this printer off.
No,
Sorry.
It's okay.
My daughter is got exams, so she's printing 1,000 things.
It's okay. It's okay.
So, background. Yeah, you're right. It's
so I was yeah. Don't worry, we can't hear you. So okay, can't hear the printing. So it's like, how can you be creative? And it's not like, okay, I'm just putting up a little pop-up window, and it doesn't mean that that's not valuable. It just means that there are maybe other ways of using your creativity and highlighting that, that particular thing. Also, because the vast majority of customers out there have seen the standard virtual tour now. So if I now go to them and say, here, this is what I can do. It's like, yeah, okay, I have 17 other people down the block that can do the exact same thing.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you look at Matterport, for instance, it's a great, like everyone's platform, they're awesome, but the typical viewer can't tell the difference visually of the excitement in this because of the overlays and stuff like that. You need to find a platform that allows you to explore the depth of or find a way to lay that experience with color and so on. So you can use, MP Skin is awesome. They have, brightness and changing. You can do hue saturations, really get into that. Think about the, sorry, just to come back, you triggered something, a thought of mine. The thing with the virtual tours, whatever they are, they have multiple stories that you can sell them at. And that's what people don't tend to look at. Mm. If you do a building, who are you going to sell this virtual tour to? Number one, you sell it to the real estate agent or to the commercial agent that commissioned it. But then once you're done there, you meet with the building manager and you say, hey, look what we did for you. And you tell them the story about facilities management, health and safety. All of a sudden, that same virtual tour is starting another conversation with someone who you may have met for the first time, who have had a bad day chasing up where all the bits and pieces are with a client, and all of a sudden you've presented a solution to them. Mm. You may meet the HR team and go, hey, look at this for a second. You could use this for virtual orientation of new starters. You've got to think about where the value propositions are on there. So if you look at your bottom end is always going to be your sales and leasing. That's it. If you want to have potentially lots of work, as you move up the chain, I'd say the value of that virtual tour and a good pitch and a good tour, it doubles every time. Yeah. Same virtual tour. And the problem is that most of us who start out undersell the value of that to such a point that the rest of us suffer. Right. Because that's the reason why. You know, if we all walked in and said from tomorrow that's $1,000 a virtual tour, nothing would change except they'd pay $1,000 because they can't get it cheap anyway.
Yes. Yeah. Interesting. So a little bit about, I want to talk a bit about the, some exciting new things, AI and stuff like that, and maybe communication within tours. But just before that, would you be able to share a little bit about sort of your capturing sort of process when you go out and do something? You mentioned it takes about an hour, 1.5 hours. I'm already surprised by that. I'm like, oh, that seems quite fast. Like, what is the preparation that you do? Have you been there before so that you can save time before you're actually doing the actual capturing? What's your sort of thought process and preparation before you go out and do something for a client or capture something for a client? And that's specifically, it's not the after editing, it's really just at the space.
You mean from client engagement to a commercial real estate agent tool?
Yeah, for example.
Yeah, I mean, most of us tend to function in that space. So I'll do the commercial real estate agent. I guess because I've done it so long now, you have this nervous thing of once you've done 500-600 commercial real estate spaces, you kind of know how to deal with stuff.
Yes.
But most of the time, it all comes down to looking after that agent, making sure that he feels that you're in control because he's going to leave you there. And also to make sure that that agent understands that if the building is tenanted or something, that you are representing in, let's say, the best brand for them. You're representing them, so it's calm. One of the points that you always get asked is, how long will this take? And my response is, it takes as long as it takes to do a good tour.
Yeah.
Nothing else, With planning, obviously you get as much information as you can, especially if sometimes you can't get to the site in the beginning. And to be honest, I mean, how much time do you want to spend going back and forth and back and forth? It doesn't matter. They're all the same. There's stairs, there's doors, there's people. Doors need to be open. You learn tricks of how to shoot with doors closed and then move through them, especially the likes of the I guess the LiDAR and point cloud systems.
Yeah.
They need doors open and so on. And really, you just try and work at a convenient time that's best for your workflow. It doesn't make sense to be booked into a virtual tour at lunchtime. You rather say, I'll come in after hours.
Yeah.
Because it can extend that time so much, but with a lot of people. So the shooting is the easy part. It's really managing the process of getting that shoot done right. Because the reality is, if you mess one point up or you mess something up, this is the other thing. If you think you've been caught in the camera, you have.
Yeah. Yes.
So just go back and redo it, because you have that hunch. That hunch is expensive if you don't just take another click at it. I'm not sure.
A lot of it is just in the preparation, the communication and the preparation.
Look, there's always going to be 1,000 different things that are moving. I mean, look, take for instance, I recently did a 10-story building, and how do you take that on? The bigger but you learn through scale. 10-story building. What's the best way to approach the building is to build the spine, shoot the whole staircase first.
Okay, yeah.
And then you step out, and then you've got the spine of the model, and then you can come back at any time, especially because obviously I'm shooting with Matterport, which is quite different. You've got to know what you're doing technically, and then you go that way. Shooting factories, and I did a 20,000 square meter factory that was for sale. It's a big process where you've just got to plug your headset in and enjoy it.
Yes.
It's not that complicated. It's just attention to detail, it's again, it's that passion thing. You know, anyone can shoot it, but you can tell that difference in the quality where you shoot a little extra, and you make sure your models are good.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've been talking about recently quite a bit is, which in my opinion, I think in a lot of industries is kind of the same, is like, again, also what you mentioned, why are we creating this, right? Why are we creating this tour specifically? And that could be, of course, that there's a different reason for each customer and each industry. But one of the things that I think is the same across every single one of them is the fact that ultimately I want to get in touch with someone. I want to communicate with someone. That's really what I'm trying to do, right? This thing is not gonna magically sell whatever I've got without any type of communication with me or with the owner. Like, we need to communicate in a way, right? That's really what we're trying to do. And just looking at a virtual tour or virtual experience can sometimes be quite a lonely experience. Like, okay, this is cool, but then, it's almost like, okay, I got the information I want right now, and then it just ends. Like, there's no, there should be a next step, which is, how do I now talk to that particular person? It should go both ways, right? The person looking at the virtual tour feels that way. Okay, now I want to actually communicate with someone because I have questions, I see things, I want to talk. And on the other side, the salesperson should go, okay, that person needs to somehow reach out to me because I want to talk to them. Basically what we're doing right now, but then inside of the virtual space is just something that we at iStaging have been quite passionate about. But I'll be honest, it's been quite a challenge to sort of get that out there, because for some reason, I guess it also requires a change in behavior, and changing behavior of anyone is really, really difficult. Even people that want to change, it requires really, strong discipline in a way. So anyway, I wanted to ask your thoughts on that, because you're, obviously on a daily basis almost communicating with customers. And well, how do you see that for the future?
Look, I think, well, and I love the passion you have for this.
And I could be completely wrong. I don't know. Right?
No. Look. We don't know if we're wrong. The assumption is the worst thing. I don't like to assume. I'm more of a, let's take a leap of faith.
Yeah.
If I believe in it. So, just like you said, to look at yourself from we're always trying to sell to real estate agents. That's what we've been indoctrinated into, and they don't spend money. If you think about their world, it's like, I don't want to use a virtual tour because I don't know who's seeing the house.
Right.
So they're scared about using these virtual tours.
Yeah.
Right. So because there isn't a form of communication. Now, I believe the virtual tours are going to be in the real estate industry with companies that invest in it. Like the actual agency is going to say, that's it, we're done. This is a department.
Yeah.
Or the photographer has to do it standard. They're not going to be concerned about who they're talking to because they got the physical open home. The way I'm seeing the shift, and I believe the shift is coming, as there are many companies in the background working on that have developed these systems where we can step inside the virtual. You guys yourself got one. Was sorry. What you want? Touring, yeah. But you've had it for a long time. It's been there. The technology capabilities was there, and you guys just said, well, look, it's possible. But I think the solution, like the areas that I'm functioning on, that I think are in sales. So, and meetings, but if you take the one that I'm focusing on, sales of, say, caravans or boats, where there is it's a luxury item, it's a long sales process, where the client says, let's put the virtual tour out there, and the normal media that they're using, the videos, the websites and stuff. But if someone is not there, how do we have a conversation? Because it's a showroom we've got to get them to. We've got to get them to the showroom.
Yeah. Now,
the distance between them inquiring and getting to the showroom is fraught with danger. of every other advertiser, every other pop-up, every other ad derailing that journey to get to you.
Yeah.
I believe that by adding these, Supervis is a great one, and I've started playing with. By adding the ability to book a meeting and explore the boat together, we connect, and that's what we need. Because what is the salesman's mantra? I need to get them there so I can read their emotions.
Yes.
So, so I see that as becoming the next. You're going to have AI that's doing a lot of your work, and then we're going to have this way to connect.
Yes.
So in the sales process, and then it's a simple, come to the showroom now, we have a relationship. Or meet me at the dock, we'll go for a boat ride to test it out.
Yeah.
People don't want to, and I think that's the whole thing. COVID has changed the way we function, but there's still a massive cohort of people trying to pull us back into the offices and do things differently. But I mean, to the original form, it's never going to be that way. A lot of us just go, I don't want to drive. I don't want to get in the car. I don't want to book an appointment. Just give me what I need so I can chat to you and let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And so also that the virtual tour of that product or that home has a form of connect for that person. This is actually what I want to talk to you about. And it's warm, and they're warm led. So they've spent time online and looked at it. So I'd like to talk to you about this. And the normal sales process would be, oh, why don't I meet you there? Or why don't you come in? I don't have time. You just lost your lead.
Yeah, exactly. So in terms of, new technologies for, in the next 10 years, obviously AI is a big one, right? I think almost all businesses are in some way, shape, or form exploring with it. But besides that, you also have stuff like, for example, the new Apple Vision Pro headset, which at the moment is obviously really, really expensive still. But in my opinion, because I've done hundreds of demos with it right now and we're working with it, it's sort of a first glimpse into what the future may look like. And that headset, yes, is still too heavy. It's still too big. You're not going to sit with that thing on the whole day. But, think ahead, and we're just having normal glasses where I can now see all forms of, digital assets in front of me that would help me in my, communication or work daily. It's really, really, it is kind of like magic. Anyway, I don't know what are you, for AI, what are you doing in your business with that? Or what kind of technologies are you excited about, and how may they impact, what you are doing at the moment, or what you may be doing, 3 to 5, 10 years.
I wish I could answer that.
I know it's a very broad question. Yeah.
You're so busy in your business trying to market your services. The one thing that I'm adopting with AI is the AI lead gen facilities. Because that'll at least have an automated system. Because at the end of the day, our job is marketing. It's not virtual tours. If, when you're starting to get on staff and stuff, you've got to have an automated system that's hitting, I don't know, 1,000 emails a week. How do you? I mean, you can't do that as an individual with can I email, you can book an appointment, because most of us tend to feed within our hunting grounds. All virtual tour guys are they're either combining it with photography or something, but not really focusing on it as their core. I went with it as the core. I haven't really deviated out of that except trying to find a better way, but marketing is critical. So I will be using AI the AI bots to really, really adjust to the systems and the way the guys respond. The nice thing with these companies is that they have masses of global data lists. If you want to push out further than that, have a look at that type of thing, because the hardest thing is always trying to find the energy to go to meetings and then try and send out 5 emails a day or something like that. It's just rather invest in AI and just say go.
Yes. Yeah.
Just go. Just. And the thing is that, you know, I honestly think if you're not, like, if I'm not, I believe that if I don't do this, I'll be the next blockbuster.
Right.
Yeah. You know, it's running at such a pace. To come back to your question about devices and stuff, I think the devices are always going to be there. They're kind of just going to be, what experience do you feel like having today? Do you want to sit back and look at it through there? Do you want to go to your phone? We thinking that thinking that the headsets are going to be the next thing, another world. Yeah, it's gamifying your I guess gamifying your, what was that movie with Tom Cruise? With the Minority Report, I think it was. You know, that same
okay.
type of thing. Yeah. I think the simplicity of where does it fit into business? Find the right space for it. If that headset does an amazing thing in commercial real estate, or a particular higher end client that you want to have a virtual experience with, because that's part of your brand.
Yeah.
My brand wants you to immerse you into the space, then invest it in that space. But don't just buy it because everyone else has got it, because you're just another $5,000 gone.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, and it's tech. It doesn't last long.
Yeah.
You can't sweat these assets. They're out of date by the day you bought them.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, you know, what I've realized is definitely in, you know, with headsets and the hardware and the technologies, that the people love it the most when there is some sort of connection to the real world, right? Can I see the person next to me? Can I somehow still feel like I'm in the real world? If everything is completely virtual, completely digital, yes, that's fun for a little while, but very quickly people start to feel, I want to be back to people, like real, you know. That's that I mean, just from seeing this happening after, you know, hundreds of demos, or well, over the past 8 years, thousands probably. Anyway, like, really exciting.
I stayed away from that whole, in the beginning when I used the Facebook Oculus Go, I think it was. Wow, that's amazing, but it's just another thing that you've got to worry about. Is it going to work? You know, it's the client experience, the health and safety. So, like, if you do want to make experiential marketing as part of your brand, then go all in. Because you can establish yourself as your niche. You know, come to us, or we'll come to you. But I think it's important to understand that everyone gets access to these things. Everyone can buy cameras and lasers, and it comes down to how passionate you are and how badly you want to, how badly you want to be able to find a way to tell the story that they want to hear.
Yeah. So, Dean, what's next for you? What's coming up for you and for VirtualPro?
Like I said, I don't know if I said it, but as a graphic designer for 30 years, I took what feels like a hiatus out of designing. Because with all technology that we're working, you just push the button. Yeah. And I felt, which I loved, it was a nice boundary for me to work within and get really good at the best I can become in that space. But I've now found, I'm now working on, like I said, working with the graphics inside of, with the panoramics inside, which allows me to really connect back to my creativity as a designer, and also to change how the image is viewed in there. Yeah. And I think that's for me my niche of, you know, how to soften, how to declutter, how to remove noise. When you're trying to show, when you're wanting the client to say, hey, look at this, look at that, you know, let me guide you to the next position, without everything being at the same tone, everything being at the same brightness. There's no control in that. Yeah. So it's about learning how to, yeah, look, I feel this is, I found where I belong now. I'm not going to step out of the others, but I definitely know that this is my space now.
Yeah.
So it's more image manipulation within virtual tours now.
Is there anything that we haven't talked about today that we should have talked about?
I feel like I've done all the talking, as I normally do.
Well, it's all about you.
That's enough about me. What do you think about me? Yeah, no,
it's wonderful, Dean.
Thank you. Any questions from audience at all?
I don't know. Let's see. For anyone here, are there any questions that you would like to ask Dean? He's really knowledgeable, obviously, as you've heard over the past 45 minutes. Really experienced and very creative. And I think that that's a really cool thing to sort of bring that, not necessarily back, actually bring it into virtual tours. Because I don't, over the past 8 years, I don't think that virtual tours were necessarily, maybe they were creative, because it was new, but then at some point, maybe that was lost along the way a little bit, and you're trying to bring that back. And I think that's.
I think it's when you travel like we do, every company comes up with a better camera to do a better resolution or a faster processing or this, but that's in the data collection of that image.
Yeah.
What about the image? The thing that we're actually looking at, I mean, who's taking care of that thing? And I think that's because I found a way to get back to my roots as a how do I craft a great looking image that can tell a story or be calm? The problem with virtual tours, which is not a problem, it's just how they operate, is that it is just a high resolution image.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of noise in there when you're trying to get that client to go somewhere without putting an overlay that says go that way.
Yeah.
How do you showcase a booth in a trade show with everything else that's around it that's going to distract their client from walking around that booth, or they just look at our brains are hardwired to look at everything. Yeah. We've got to find a way to narrow it down.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't see any questions now for now, Dean. So I want to thank you very much for your time today. I know that you're a very busy man, so I really appreciate it. I always enjoy talking to you. I always feel like I could talk to you for hours, and it feels like a few minutes. I hope that everyone here today enjoyed it, and we hope to see you at the next one. And I hope, Dean, that we'll be able to talk again on or off camera very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. See you guys at the next one. Bye-bye.